Hello and welcome to another edition of Phakathi TV. I'm your host, John T. Mark, and today we're going to discuss the big news of the week, Wednesday's announcement of the new head coach of Bafana Bafana. Belgian Hugo Broos is the man who's been put in charge of the national team, tasked with trying to get them to the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar. Not only that, it appears that his contract will run all the way up until the 2026 World Cup in Canada, the USA and Mexico. Was Broos Bafana Bafana's first choice for the job? Well, Safa will tell you that he was the only name presented finally this week to the Safa National Executive Committee, and therefore he was their main man. So we're left to speculate on whether there were other candidates and whether the other candidates were actually who Safa would have preferred. My suspicion, and this is my opinion, is yes, absolutely. The first choice for me was Carlos Queiroz. Unfortunately, Carlos Queiroz turned them down. Apparently, I heard yesterday, because he didn't think he'd have enough time to prepare the team with the World Cup qualifiers, as he knew then, starting in June. What we heard today, which is Thursday, is that the World Cup qualifiers will now take place in September, with CAF postponing the June qualifiers because of issues relating to COVID-19. What I also heard at the Bafana coaching announcement press conference whispered in my ear was that Queiroz, once he heard that the qualifiers could have been postponed, re-expressed an interest. But by then, Safa had turned to Broos. That was number one. The number two was probably Pitso Mosimane. I do believe there was an approach made to Al Ahly. I do believe that they were interested, but Pitso flat turned them down. So that was the end of that with Pitso Mosimane. With Benny McCarthy, the other option, it was a little bit more complicated. Benny McCarthy was in negotiations with Safa, it seems, but they didn't really get as far as they could have, and his demands were not in relation to Safa's. But it did seem for a long time as if Benny McCarthy would be the one that they chose to get the job. The other name on the list was Gavin Hunt, but that really didn't seem to go anywhere. And then there was Hervé Renard, who was also, I believe, an inquiry was made with the two-time Africa Cup of Nations winner. But with Hervé Renard, he apparently said he was happy enough in Saudi Arabia, and so he didn't take the job. So that, if you add it all together, would make Hugo Broos number 5 choice for Bafana Bafana head coach. That's my speculation. Anyway, what can Hugo Broos bring to Bafana? Well, the Belgian 69-year-old does have some continental pedigree. He won the 2017 Africa Cup of Nations with a young Cameroon side. Really a surprising win in Gabon. Not too many star names. They weren't the Samuel Eto'os of this world in that Cameroon team, but they did well. They didn't lose a single game at the finals. They beat Egypt 2-1 in the final, with Vincent Aboubakar scoring a winner late to give them a 2-1 victory. And Broos, that was a brilliant achievement for Broos. You know, his first time coaching an international team. He really did build this Cameroon side into a good side. Unfortunately, after that, it went a little bit downhill. He was sacked in the same year after failing to qualify the team for the 2018 FIFA World Cup in Russia, although they were in a very difficult group with Nigeria, Algeria, who are the reigning Africa Cup of Nations champions, and Zambia. So they had a very tricky task to get to the World Cup, but they didn't get there, and Broos was fired. Can he be a success with Bafana? The jury is somewhat out. He's talked a good game in his first press conference on Wednesday, where he said he wants to build a young team. He needs time. He sort of implied that, well, he doesn't really have to necessarily get the team to the 2022 World Cup, although obviously he will try to. And I think that's good, because we need a vision going forward. We can't really expect a team in Bafana Bafana who haven't even qualified for next year's Africa Cup of Nations to suddenly qualify for the World Cup in Qatar. It has to be a bonus if they do. Will Broos be given time by the South African Football Association? Well, that's a whole nother story. They don't have a good record of giving coaches time. They may well say they'll give him time. We'll have to wait and see how that one pans out. It'll be interesting to see what Broos can bring. It'll be interesting to see if he can get the best out of a young group of players. There are similarities to Cameroon in the sense there aren't really any star names in the Bafana Bafana side. Percy Tau at Brighton is probably the biggest, but we don't have the Benny McCarthys of this world. We don't have the Samuel Eto'os of this world. We don't have your Didier Drogba's. We don't have these top players. We don't have a single player playing regularly in the top 5 leagues in Europe. So I would say, let's give him a chance. Let's see what he says when he comes next week to iron out the finer details of his contract. And let's see how we get on. What is good for him is this delay. He has now time to build the squad up to September's, the start of the World Cup qualifiers in September. Then we'll be able to see exactly what he can bring, and I think given that little bit of time, he may well be able to build something for Bafana Bafana. That's it from me for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.